Margaret, was that a special challenge, kind of translating something that really is searching for meaning instead of having an author who said, well, this is exactly what it is, or was it better to sort of work with him to determine what it was that you were translating? What was that process like?
Yeah, well, it was definitely easier to translate concrete kind of details.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of the book that enters into more abstract kind of thoughts about things, and that was hard. But actually, I think at the beginning, because there was this very steep learning curve in translating Sergio Chejfec, and I think at the beginning I felt that I had to really understand, like really unravel a lot of what was behind some of the words, so that they would fit together for me as a reader. But as my translation evolved, as I progressed, I realized that I didn't really have to be able to interpret everything perfectly.
Right.
So that abstractions could be perfectly fine as abstractions in the English.
They lived on their own.
They lived on their own, yeah.
Yeah.
And leaving it open to the reader in English as they're open to the reader in Spanish.
Right.
So that's that progressed and had just sort of temper my need to really get a grip on everything that was in the novel. I didn't have to know to translate it actually.
Right. And that,
yeah, sometimes I felt during our translation sessions, I felt that I had to translate to Spanish my Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah, in front of Margaret.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a crazy rewriting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think when I am writing a new text, I rewrite this text every time, all times, until I send this paper to this text to the editor.
Yeah.
Because that when we met together to talk about that, to work about the translation, I felt that I was rewriting the novel.
Yeah.
In some cases, in some paragraphs.
I wanted to ask you about walking, because it's not just, the book isn't just about walking. The novel also sort of takes on the form of a walk, and you described in one section where the narrator is talking about the internet before Google existed, and you would just kind of follow links and it would lead from one thing to another, and that's also sort of the way that the novel works. And I wonder if you had that form in mind when you began, or is it something that sort of developed organically as you were writing?
Well, actually, I didn't have I never have an idea about a plot, about a linear sequence of the themes, of the facts of the text of the novel. I remember I started to write this novel thinking about two novels of two Argentinian writers who had written about them 50 years.
Yeah.
So I wanted to write a kind of essay, a narrative essay about them. But when I started, I realized that maybe in the 10th page, I realized that it was my new novel. So I decided to put together some ideas about, I don't know, walking, internet, and something like that. When my writing is a little digressive. Digressive, and because that sometimes I prefer to say something with my discretion. Yeah. So internet is a very good I don't know, it's a very good word, because internet is a kind of parallel world,
Yeah.
parallel world of us. So I remember the first times of the internet when it was so hard and so crazy to make a search
Yeah.
with the first navigators like the first browsers, search engines like Alta Vista or I don't remember the names.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the time of the bad search engine is a kind of gold age of the internet. Yeah, because with a bad search engine you can reproduce the feeling of losing in the street, in the city.
Yeah. And here's that same
Yeah.
notion, yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of metaphor
Yeah.
of walking in the street. Yeah.
So this sort of essayistic impulse, I don't know if it goes through your other novels as well as this one, but is this, what is it about the essay that sort of draws you as a writer and then gives flower to these other sorts of ideas? Is there something about just the searching of it that you enjoy, or what is it about that form?
Well, what do you repeat?
You said this sort of started as an essay,
Yeah.
and it has that sort of feel. So I was wondering what about the essay appeals to you, the form of the essay?
Well, for me, it's not a very big difference between essay or novel. For me, there is a very strong germ, the narration. So I think I write narrations. Sometimes these narrations are more close to essay, the form of the essay, because I used to write some reflections. My writing is a little reflective.
Yeah.
So because that I use ideas, I use ideas about memories, ideas about sensibility, ideas about history and society and everything. So sometimes the action of my novels are so soft. I don't know. Yeah. You can describe my plots in 2 or 3 lines, but I expect that in my novels everyone can find a lot of allusions and ideas about the meaning of the piece.
Yeah. Margaret, you said that there was sort of a steep learning curve towards getting the feel for Sergio's writing. Were there any writers that you turned to that you thought might help you, or translations that you read that sort of gave you a little bit of a clue to how to proceed or anything like that? Did you refer to anyone?
Sure. One of the trickiest things about Sergio's style is the very long serpentine sentences, this very complicated syntax with clauses, subclauses, and beautifully cadenced, as you heard Sergio reading them. So it was a matter of really discovering how those sentences work, the mechanics of those sentences in English. And when you're translating, when you're reading just as a casual reader, you take it in without really noticing the fine details and how the clauses and sort of works together, the architecture of a sentence, so that it's a very perfectly balanced kind of sentence. So yes, among contemporary writers, there's sort of a misconception that a lot of the writing today is sort of Hemingway-esque, very short, kind of simple sentences. That's not the case. There are many writers who have a very elaborate, beautiful style. I found that Lynn Tillman was a writer who worked at the balance of a sentence, beautifully long sentences. William Gaddis is another writer, I think, and Lydia Davis, I thought, was also a wonderful model for that kind of a sentence. And of course, Henry James was one that I turned to see. It's sort of mind-blowing. Just to look at those sentences exactly in the way, how do they stay together?
It's got to be a little intimidating too, you're a translator, as a writer too. I mean, as a translator, you are a writer, so you're looking at Henry James and imagining how you can sort of fashion something that approaches that. It's got to be very intimidating.
Well, you try it and then you show it to people and you say, does this work? Does this fly? And that was another important step for me, was actually asking friends, very wise friends, very experienced translators and readers who could give me some feedback on whether or not it was okay. And a lot of times things that I thought were kind of shaken out, this is fine.
Yeah.
We'll just move this word around a little bit and then it'll work.
Yeah. Sergio, what sort of writers influenced this style of yours? What Margaret says is so contained with these sort of long sentences with clauses and everything. Who sort of inspired that in you?
Well, you know, there are many Argentine writers. You can, in Latin America, you can find a very strong tradition, for example, about the